fewer people on, but I figured we'd get a few more than this. To start off, like real quick, we're just gonna go through. Let's see if this works. Can everybody see the District 1011 session number 1 on there?
Yep.
Hey. All right, I do remember some stuff. Well, seeing those are the group we've got, pretty much everybody that already knows us. The introductions will go pretty quick, but that's our contact information. If you guys need it for any reason, if you don't already have it, this is our district staff: Strillo, Laura, Gary, Matt, Tess, and Jamie. There's a couple less training sessions that we're going to do because of the state clinic schedule that came out. So we'll get into that next. But and if you guys need this, Matt's recording it, and the recording of this will be put on the USA Softball of Michigan website. So if you ever need to go back to it for any reason, it'll be there.
Yeah, it's also on the YouTube channel too. So if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you'll see it when it's
posted. The link actually, if you go to the USA Softball of Michigan website and you go to the umpires and the training and you click the video link, that'll send you right to the YouTube. And there's other videos on there, and that's also where the state staff videos will be on for all the state clinics after they get done with their sessions. They'll be posting them on there too. So for us, we dropped 2 of the clinics off. We dropped the game management off, and we dropped the clinic that Tess was going to run. Basically because the state staff is already going to cover it in a couple of their sessions, and every week that we had sessions scheduled, the state also had sessions scheduled. So instead, we figured if there was a repeat, instead of us trying to do our own version of it, we'd just go with the state, and that way everybody's not having to tune in 2 different evenings every single week for the next month and a half. So that's why we took 2 off. And the flyer that was sent out earlier, we dropped those 2 sessions. Still going to keep the test dates because it's kind of nice to do live. That way you can actually, if you have questions on it or anything like that, you can actually go through the test that way. So district clinic this year, we're going to do something a little different. It's still going to be at Geyer, but we decided since everything was going to be Zoom leading up to the district, when we normally would have our district clinic, and our district clinic would have been Zoom, we decided to do something different and try to do it outdoors. So we picked a later date, and we'll be at Geyer still, but we'll be out at the softball fields instead. And we'll do, instead of the gym work that we normally would do at Geyer, we'll do a brief informational thing real quick at the fields, and then we'll actually be on the fields and be able to move around on an actual ball field, weather permitting. And that way it'll make it a little bit more realistic than it would be in the gym, and we won't be all cooped up, and we can separate a little bit more and try to keep COVID at bay a little bit. So
Joe, I got a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have this, but weather permitting, say we do have weather, are we gonna just revert back into the gym?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. That'll be the idea. That's another reason to have it at Geyer, just because it
Gotcha.
allows us to transition back and forth. If we've got some bad weather, then we can just switch it back to an indoor session and do something in the gym. So, allowing for COVID restrictions or any of that kind of stuff, things like that. But yeah, that's the idea. So the state clinics, if you guys haven't seen the emails yet, they got 5 elective ones. There was a 6th, but I missed that email. I didn't actually get the information out to everybody in time to actually view that live. It is on the website though and up, so you can go back and watch it if you want. But the rest of the sessions are listed here. And then they have what they're terming their mandatory sessions. There's 3 of those, or 3 different dates. There's actually 4 sessions, but 3 different dates, and those are listed there. They're trying to encourage everybody to at least go to the general session so that because that's where they're going to cover new rules and all that kind of good stuff. So, and we're going to cover that some tonight too. The elite umpire one is for anybody that is an elite umpire or is interested in becoming an elite umpire. So that'll be just about everybody on this Zoom call. You know, and again, if you want to, even if you're not anywhere close to becoming elite status, if you just want some general information on how to get there and what steps you're going to take to get to that level, you know, tune into that session. And then the slow pitch and fast pitch modified be on the same night, just two different time slots. So then you can watch both or one, whatever you want to do. So to get, and then they're going to do 2 outdoor sessions this year, same as they did last year. So one in Midland and one in Holland. The times
They're
are
trying to freeze outside.
What's that?
They're trying to freeze outside.
Yeah, well, we picked a little bit later in the month, which was good because otherwise we would have conflicted with one of these. So I guess it worked out that we picked the 24th for us. So
yeah, I think too the plan was for us to open up that outdoor clinic to really anybody outside of the district who wants to attend. If they just want to attend the outdoor session, it might be of use too if either one of those two get canceled for weather, you know, or if somebody just can't make it anything well. So we're kind of giving a third option basically.
Okay.
Yep. So then to receive credit for the actual state clinic, you got to go 2 mandatory sessions and 2 elective sessions. So they give you some options. You don't have to necessarily watch every single one. But you got to get 2 mandatory and 2 electives in there. I do believe there's an option if you can't make a date for some reason, if you watch the recording and then shoot an email out to me, I think they are giving credit for that. But I'll have to double check on that one. But you know, in person is going to be better because you can, you know, ask questions and be involved in the discussion. But if necessary and you can't make it one night, they will be recorded. So I put the actual address on there. This will take you right to the YouTube page that's got the videos. I don't know if it'll allow me to go. You guys still seeing the state clinic one, aren't you?
Yeah.
So the YouTube, when I clicked on that link, is the YouTube page up now?
Now it is.
There it goes. So this is what it looks like. So even our videos from last year made it on the list. So, and then this one here, this first one on the list, that is the first session last week that everybody missed from District 11 unless they happened to catch it like Matt did. And again, I apologize for not getting the information out to you guys sooner, but this is where that first session is. So.
That was on the USA Softball of Michigan website?
Yep. So
okay.
When you go and I'll pull it up. It's because it'll be easy to.
I just want to write it down. I couldn't find a pencil.
Makes sense. All right. You guys seeing the Google homepage up?
Ooh.
Yep.
Yep.
So this will go right into the registration and everything too. So once you get to the homepage, you go to umpires and scroll down to training. And then it gives the schedules. And then where was that stinking link? Like I went to it.
I think there's a link in there that says
clinic videos. See up here where it says clinic videos? That's where you go for the videos. And it takes you right to the YouTube page.
Gotcha.
So, did everybody see that?
I just want to know why Tessa's fast pitch session has over 1,000 views and all the other ones only have like 30, 40, 13.
She's pretty popular, I guess. So
Feeling a little slighted.
Because fast pitch is where it's at.
slow pitch softball is it's not for the faint of heart.
Registration, again, this is where you're going for that. So under the umpire tab, click the registration. There is some new stuff with Safe Sport. It's going to involve a longer training. It's not basically a brush up section like we've done for the last couple years. But to get to the registration, that's here. Click on that link. It'll take you. You'll probably have to log in. I'm already logged in, so it brought me right in here, right off the bat. But this is where everything that you want to go to get everything done. So your background check, Save Sport is here. And again, remember, follow the directions on here because it's looking like, I haven't actually tried it, but it's looking like they changed up the website a little bit. So we've got to do the forget password and basically change your password up to actually get you to get credit this year for it. And from what was it Gary or Tessa did it, Matt, that was saying that it's a little over an hour now?
I did
You
it.
did?
And yeah, if you're going to do it all in one time, plan on an afternoon. So it's not going to be a quick 15, 20 minutes. All right. So
That's for Safe Sport and everything.
yeah, it's
That's
all
for
new
Safe
this year. Yeah, it's all new. They have all new videos, all new everything. So
Did you have to create a new password and stuff, Matt, when you?
I don't recall having to. Maybe I did. I don't know. It's been a while. But it'll tell you if you do.
Okay.
Well, it says right
And if
down at the
anybody's-
bottom, CUNA users will need to use the forget password link. So yeah, you do.
Yep. So once you get on, remember to use that forget password to make sure that you get credit for it. Okay. Because if you spend all the time doing it, we want you to get the credit for it. We don't have to. We want you to, because you
So
you
so
can get
you're
credit.
saying you have to go to where you're at to get in, and you have to hit forget password.
Well, so
There's
we
a
go
button
in-
there.
say Sport returning user login.
Yep.
See where
Okay.
this takes us. So then this will take you into the Safe Sport website, which should require a login. Yep, login up here in the top right corner. And then
Yeah, so
create-
if this is your first time coming back in this year, then you got to hit the forget password to kind of restart your recreate your login and password.
then that's
so-
right here.
Yep.
So you go to there
Okay.
first.
Yep. So you hit the link, you go. See if it'll take me back to the right page. So from that registration link on the main page on the USA Softball, this one here, you just click on that. That takes you to, or you can just type in that www.registerusasoftball.com. That will also take you there, and you'll have to log in there so they know it's you. It's remembering me from when I logged in earlier. That's why it's here, but it'll just be a login, same login and password you guys have already used to register before this. I don't think we have anybody on the list that hasn't registered prior to this year. Like everybody's been registered the last couple of years, correct?
Yes.
Everybody on the list? I don't think. Did we get any new people? Oh, Jason joined. Jason, you can unmute yourself if you want, since we got such a small group. We're allowing for conversation and stuff too. So go ahead and say something. Make sure we can hear you.
Blah.
Yep, we can hear
Blah.
you. Okay.
Blah.
All right. So from the USA Softball website where you go to then register, you log in here under the Save Sport tab. Go down here, Save Sport returning user login. But then we'll have to do this forget password here. So I got so many things running, it's taking a minute to load up.
Yeah.
It wasn't going this slow earlier.
Yeah, basically when they redid the entire Safe Sport kind of website and everything, they wiped all the existing passwords out. So now you have the same username, you just gotta create a new password.
So you go in
Okay.
here I can't remember my username off the top of my head, but yeah, you want to make sure you click the forget password link, and you'll have to put your username in or your email in it, and then go through the process that they're going to walk you through on the reset password to reset your password. And then that'll make sure that all your login credentials are now on the new Safe Sport website, and then you can start the Safe Sport presentation. And like Matt said, it takes a little longer than what the last couple of years have done with just the recaps that we've been doing. So
Hey, Joe,
I haven't gone through it myself yet, so I'm not sure how long, but yeah, Matt said it takes a little longer. And I think talked to somebody else and said that, yeah, it's an hour and a half, 2 hours to get through it. Did it take you really longer than a couple hours to do, Matt?
I mean, I broke it up in a couple different afternoons. So I think it was like an hour and a half one afternoon and maybe like an hour the next. So, you know, if you could just skip past some of the videos that you have to watch, and there's a lot of videos, you might be able to get through it quicker, but I don't know.
So yeah, unfortunately,
videos,
you can, I think, after like the video gets like halfway through, then like the fast forward option comes up. But you know, a lot of the videos are 4 and 5 minutes long. So
yeah.
Anyways.
And they want to make sure that everybody goes through it, doesn't just fast forward through everything. So they're going to keep you from progressing until you actually finish the section. So, and unfortunately, the registration process has already been started for me. So that's why it's showing up down here that I've just got to complete my background status. I got to consent to it.
You don't trust my level of responsibility, okay?
But this is where you're going to go to register also. Okay. If you haven't completed a concussion training, or if you need to do a re-up on that because it's only good for 3 years, that's again be under the, where did I see that? Under the umpire registration tab, which also gives you a link to register. Then this concussion here, and there's 2 approved courses you can take. Simply click on the link. Again, I think they're going to require another login and password. I went through this. At least when I did it, if I remember right, it didn't take very long. But remember, every 3 years, you've got to re-up this. So, and if you're not sure, when you did it the last time, you can send me an email or send an email to the state office, and, so they can look it up and see when the last time you completed it was, if you don't have record of when you did it last. But just keep in mind, especially for the fast pitch umpires that are doing youth ball, that this is where you got to go to get your concussion training too. Then they also have some information on Safe Sport down here also. So, and they give you like more step-by-step directions. Can you guys see the PDF now that pop up on your screens?
Yep.
That's some background, and it gives you kind of a step-by-step on how to go through the whole process also. Okay. And if you still have problems after all that, like, feel free, give me a call, get a hold of me, and I'll help you out as much as I can. So, okay. Make sure it covered everything that I wanted to cover. Sport registration. All right, new rules. So the new rules are also, if I can get rid of that.
Joe, I don't think you have enough windows open. Can you open up a few more?
Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna open up some more once I get back to the web page that I want. All right. So no rules. So we're gonna go through the new rules real quick. I also want to show you guys where you can go to get to get these also. So again, we can go right to the website, right on the USA Softball Michigan website. Again, under the umpires. Where did I go? I'm trying to remember where I went to get all this stuff. Actually, I think it was on the umpire homepage. Blues Across America. There's also another link on this page, so go there. This is not where I was at. Honest, guys, I was just at the rule book.
Is it under home?
I'm trying, my screen kind of locked up on me a little bit. Okay. So under the umpire training section, you can download, clicking the umpire manual, you can download the new umpire manual, which will give you the whole rule book, because I believe they're not going to be sending out a paper copy of this. So if you want the rule book, you're going to have to get on the computer and download the manual. You can print it off from there if you want. And then the playing rule changes are also on that, so you can go directly to the playing rule changes. And this is basically just links you over to the USA softball website, and 2022 rule changes with comments. So then we get new rule changes. Did everybody see the new rule changes up on the screen now?
Yep.
Kind of, but yeah.
Is it not? Well, you're on your phone.
Yeah.
So the first rule changes, they deleted the sentence, any attachment such as a molded finger grip, flare cone, or choke up device must be attached with grip tape. So some of us, at least in the slow pitch world, have already been kind of doing this, but it removes the requirement to use tape on those like small cones they put on the handles or the stuff like that are on there to help with the grip. So they no longer have to have those taped. And like I said, I'm not sure in the fast pitch world, and again, if some of you guys that want to, the umpire more fast pitch want to speak up, but like feel free to interject at any point in time during here. But at least in my games, like if there's a lot of times they have those cones and stuff, they don't tape them down. I'm not making them, I'm not requiring it. They don't really come off. So they're kind of just removing the requirement in the rule book. In the fast pitch, they're changing the ball. They're just creating common specifications for the 12-inch fast pitch ball for USA Softball, NC2A, and National High School Federation. Okay, and that'll be effective 2024. But I would imagine that over the next couple of years, more and more tournaments, more and more places will be switching over to the ball. So, Rule 4, Section 1C adds a letter D and E. And again, this is a fast pitch rule that I'm not extremely familiar with. So if I get any part of this wrong, or there's anything that anybody on the fast pitch side wants to add in to explain this, I'd appreciate it. It allows for one EP, so you can bat 10. So E allows you to use the DP flex with one EP to bat 10 players. And in both D and E, any player in the lineup can play defense. Substitutions for the pitcher and catcher must be reported. So basically, this allows for an EP in JO girls classification of play. In E, the DP flex rule is in effect. So if the flex is taken out of the defense, it is a substitution. Also clarifies substitutions for the pitcher and catcher must be reported. So, and again, if if we need any help with this, if that doesn't make any sense to anybody, I don't know, maybe Jason or Todd, you do fast pitch too, I think. Maybe you guys can speak up on it if there's any questions about it. Otherwise we'll move on. So Rule 4, Section 1C, basically just making it more politically correct, changing base man to base player. And Rule 4, Section 2L, this one is going to affect both games, or could, like, quite a bit. Creates an additional section in the ADA rule, which allows a player with a disability who needs to come out of the game due to a disability to have a replacement player until the disability subsides. So, like in their example, this like allows, like, somebody with that has a diabetic event, they can leave the game, be replaced until they can return, but then when they return, it doesn't require a substitution. Okay, so if you get somebody with some sort of a disability out on the field that has an issue with that, they can come off the field, be replaced, and then come back in, and you don't have to burn up a substitution for it. Okay, just making it a little easier to play, so we don't have as many paperwork issues and stuff like that.
This is just for fast pitch?
That'd be fast and slow. It'd be both games. So it'd be,
Okay.
and that, I haven't really dealt with much on the ADA side of things, at least in the slow pitch
Yeah,
game,
no.
any of the ones that I've worked. But
I did last
could see
year.
a situation like this occurring. So,
Yeah, I did last year.
did you?
Yeah, a dude had a
What'd you have
seizure
last
right
year?
in the dugout at the D.
Was he
Guy had
able
a
to come
seizure,
back?
Right. He came back that night. I couldn't believe it.
Okay.
What if he leaves? If he leaves, he leaves, right? If they leave, they
Well,
leave.
if he leaves, yeah, in your situation, like, yeah, this rule probably wouldn't apply, but if he had a seizure and it was just like a brief one, they could remove him from the game. Then if the game was still going on and he recovered and he was good to go and could go back in, you could put him back in the game without requiring a substitution at that point. So that's
Risky.
kind of what that rule is allowing for. Because the rule itself is, I mean, an example, they gave the diabetic event, but the rule itself leaves it open-ended. Just if they come out of the game due to a disability, they can have a replacement player until the disability subsides. So like in your instance, Ryan, yeah, if that guy had a seizure, and it was like off for an inning or two and then was able to come back in, we could do it without having an actual substitution take place. So
Say they leave in an ambulance and come back. That's a
suppose-
legitimate. I'm not bullshitting. That's a legitimate question.
I don't disagree. Then as the rule states, like I would say, like, yeah, if it was still in the same game and he was, he got the okay to play and everything, that'd probably be all right. But my guess is if he leaves if he has to come out of the game, ambulance comes, picks him up and takes, the game's probably going to be done before he's able to get back and get an okay to play. But I suppose that could happen. So
I'm telling you, dude.
this Rule 5, Section 10A, 10B, and 10C is basically the same rule change. It's just designating all the different classifications in JO ball, and it changes the time limit from 1 hour. It changes the time limit to 1 hour, 40 minutes and finish the inning, and removes the requirement to play one additional inning. So it removes the need to play one additional inning once the time portion of the time limit has expired. And it also changes the time portion to 1 hour, 40 minutes and finish the inning. So all other parts of the rule remain the same. So, the big one in the fast pitch world is going to be a women's JO ball. Pushing off and dragging the pivot foot in contact with the ground or having both feet in the air is allowed. So now they can actually leave with both feet. They don't have to have both feet touching the ground, and it's a legal pitch. Okay. So, and I think that kind of brings it more in line with, is it maybe the college ball or the high school ball where that's already allowed? Again, somebody that might do that level probably has a little bit
Neither.
more.
That's more of along with the men's fast pitch in USA.
Men's fast pitch, you can crow hop. Now you can
Yep.
crow hop all the way around.
Man, I knew you couldn't.
It's not crow hop.
So, but yeah, so now they're allowing that other foot, it can come off the ground, then it's still a legal pitch. Okay. They just have to, they still got to stay within that 24-inch pitching plate, but they can actually leave the ground with both feet. Rule 6C, Section 3J. The pitcher has 5 seconds to release the next pitch after receiving the ball or after the umpire indicates play ball. So it's reducing the time to release the pitch from 10 seconds to 5 seconds. Now I would say, like, last year I would have said, like, why is this even changed? Like, I've never had an issue with it. However, I did actually have an issue with it at the men's Super and AA last year. So if Ryan was watching the game, like, he was aware of this situation also. But I actually had a pitcher that was using the entire 10 seconds to try to throw the batters off. What that did was make for a very clunky game because the batters didn't like it. So the batters were requesting time, and that created some issues. So yeah, it turned out to be a mess. So I'm pretty sure that this rule was put into place because of the game that I did at the Super and the AA this past fall. So, yeah, it speeds it up. So again, it's not really going to change our game too much. It's not going to change how we umpire most games because we're still going to be holding our hands up. We're still holding the pitchers up. And then when we say play, they pitch. Well, like I said, until the one game I had last fall, I never had an issue with a pitcher taking too much time. But now they changed the rule so that if there is a pitcher that's taking a lot of time, now they're reducing by rule from 10 seconds down to 5, okay? Which will help speed up the game a little bit and help speed up, then should kind of alleviate some of the problems that happened with a pitcher just standing in the box ready to pitch and then just waiting that 10 seconds before he actually releases the ball. So
Joe, what's the effect if they don't release the pitch within 5 seconds?
it's a ball.
Okay. I just want to make sure
Illegal
everybody's aware.
pitch.
Hey,
It's
Joe,
an illegal pitch.
Do you call a legal pitch or do you just call a ball? You just call a ball, don't you?
No, actually, I believe it's a legal pitch at that point. So, and again, I think, like, it doesn't specify whether this is Rule 6C, that's probably slow pitch, not, but I would imagine, Jason, is this going to have any effect on the fast pitch game too?
Well, yeah, because they have 8 seconds to release the ball.
Okay. So according to USA, or is that high school?
I mean, that's majority of what high school.
Okay. So now, at least in USA softball, it's reducing the time. And again, I'd have to get back into the whole rule and see if this is slow pitch only or if it's fast and slow.
Well, it doesn't specify.
So, but yeah, that's what this is going to do. Like I said, in my one game last year at my tournament, this would have helped. But for the most part, I don't think this is going to change the vast majority of the games that are going to be played. Okay.
I mean, 5 seconds isn't that long.
No, and we're not saying like we're going to use that, just like, at least in the slow pitch game, we're holding up, or at least prefer to hold those pitchers up and you tell them to play. And then they've got 5 seconds to release. But usually that telling the pitcher that they can play doesn't happen until the batter and the pitcher are ready anyway. And then they have 5 seconds to then start their pitch. It really is.
You have to use good judgment.
It seems like a really short amount of time, but it's really not. When you actually have to sit there and start counting out 10 seconds, 10 seconds is a very long time to get rid of a pitch. At least in slow pitch. Okay. So
Eternity.
like I said, and Ryan, did you see that game?
Yes, I did.
Yes,
I felt so bad for you.
It was a mess, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So this rule will definitely help with situations like that. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
I wonder when they're gonna make the batter get ready in 5 seconds.
Well, I mean,
5
usually
seconds that come in play until you release the pitcher.
yeah. And I mean, if you've got a batter that's really taking an inordinate amount of time, there are things we can do that fall more under game management than anything else. So, you can have a conversation with the batter, make sure that they get in the box a little bit sooner. You can actually release the pitcher to pitch, even if the batter's not fully ready. If you feel, I wouldn't do that initially. I would at least have a conversation with the batter first. But you can release the pitcher to pitch. It's all done to play. And if they pitch the ball and the batter's not quite ready because he's been taking a very, very long time to get there, then so be it. So there's some things we can do on that end of it to handle things. But
hey, Joe.
yes.
So you were saying like, because it's 5 seconds now, we could just count in our heads like for like 5 seconds to make sure, or what do you suggest saying?
Yes.
Okay.
If it's an issue. And like I said, guys, I would not take this rule and start counting every pitch off in my head. I would not start, definitely like no stopwatches or anything like that. This is simply if the pitcher is taking a long time to release the pitch, then we can make the change. We can call the illegal, we can get them for a ball, and make them speed up a little bit. But again, I'm not saying like use this constantly, counting off every single pitch. Like every time you say play, you're counting off 5. And then as soon as that, your arm's coming out, use it in your best judgment. Excuse me.
Okay.
But if you've got a pitcher that's taking a very long time and they're set and ready to pitch, and then they're just sitting there and waiting, then absolutely you're going to be following this rule and you're going to be pushing them. Okay.
Thank you.
But, I mean, sometimes when the batters are ready and in the box and the pitcher's not quite ready, I'll motion and say play ball. And the pitcher takes a few more seconds because he's still trying to get players situated out on the field or whatever. He turns around and then he pitches. Like, I'm not going to make a big issue about that. It's just in those situations where the pitcher is ready to pitch and taking a very long time to pitch, and you tell them to play and they're just sitting there and not moving and not starting their pitch. This allows you to speed up the process a little bit. Okay.
But Joe told us.
Again, don't over umpire. There's quite a number of rules in our book that are we're a little bit lax on because it comes more under game management at that point. Okay. So like I said, no stopwatches out there. You're not counting to 5 for every single pitcher. And like I said, until my game last year, and it was only one game at that entire tournament this happened at, I would have never thought that this even needed to be changed, that it was even an issue. However, last year during one game it was. So, and I'm pretty sure that's why they changed it down to a 5-second rule. Rule 7, the last rule change they got for this year is all JO slow pitch, JO boys 14, 16, 18U, and all adult slow pitch except seniors. The batter shall assume a 1 ball, 1 strike count upon entering the batter's box. So all they're doing with that, we've been doing it in adult ball for a while now. Now it's adding all the JO girls to the classification. All JO girls slow pitch will start now with 1 ball, 1 strike. So in Michigan, probably not going to see that at all. I don't know of any JO girls slow pitch that's happening in Michigan at all right now. So, but if you run into it, they start with 1 ball, 1 strike now. So, and that's the new rules. Anybody got any other questions or want to talk about any of them a little bit more? All right. So the next part, let me stop the share here. All right. Share the PowerPoint. Okay. Lineup card management. Okay, I'm bringing that up. I don't remember any of the guys that are actually on the screen, this being a big issue with you guys last year, but it's a pet peeve of mine, and it also is a pet peeve of some ball players out there. Okay. When I'm talking about lineup card management, it's collecting substitutions, it's keeping track of your courtesy runners, and it's doing it in a timely manner and in a professional manner. Okay. So we have lineup card holders available. Please use them. Okay. Stick them in your back pocket or in your ball bag. I don't care which, but use that lineup card holder. Okay. I have seen a lot of guys out there they just stick the lineups in their back pocket or in their front pocket, and then they bring them out and they're all crumpled up, and it takes them forever to get them unfolded. And then they're trying to write in their hand to give them something solid to write on. And it takes a lot longer, and it just doesn't look very professional. Okay. So use that lineup card holder. They're very inexpensive. I think if money is an issue and you can't afford one, let me know. I will give you one of mine. I think I have about 10 of them. But use those lineup card holders, okay? Where you store it's not so much as important. Just pick a spot that you can easily get to it and bring it out, but use it, okay? Especially in rainy games, I saw guys digging them out of their pockets. By the time the end of the game comes in, those lineup cards are about a wadded up, crumpled mess, all wet. It's hard enough with a lineup card holding to keep it protected from the rain. And when you don't use one, it's almost impossible. You're put it back in wet pants pocket, and it's just a mess. I don't even know how they could read it afterwards, let alone write on it. Okay. When a coach comes to you and when they have a substitution, get that substitution quickly, write it down. And don't spend a lot of time on it. It doesn't need to be that a slow walk over to the other bench and say, okay, coach, this is the substitution that we had. And then a slow walk back to your scorekeeper and, hey, this is the substitution we had. Because it takes a very, very long time to get done. When you get a substitution, usually you're going to get that right around home plate somewhere. If you have a scorekeeper, you can turn around to the scorekeeper. Most of the time, they overheard the coach tell you anyway. So all you're doing is double checking with them. But simply like, coach, number 2 is, or, you go back to your scorekeeper, number 2 is out, number 1 is going in. Or number 1 is going in for number 2. And usually just verify the scorekeeper got it and move on quickly. The other coach on the other side, you can simply just holler over at him, hey, coach, I've got a substitution. Number 1's going in for number 2, and leave it at that. You don't have to double check that the coach got it. If the coach isn't paying attention, or you're not even sure who the scorekeeper is on the other team, you don't need to go find them and spend a lot of time tracking them down. Simply turn, loudly announce what your substitution is, and then go back to playing ball. Okay, speed up that process. When you're doing courtesy runners again, if somebody runs down to first base and they're going to have a courtesy runner, they got to announce it to you. It's numbers. That's all I need. Number 2 is running for number 1. Good enough. I get out my lineup card holder. I write that down real quick. In just a second, I'll show you guys how I keep track of that. How you do it when you're on the field is up to you, but I found that this is a pretty easy method to use, and I'll show you guys real quick on the screen like what I use. It allows me to quickly write down what the courtesy runner was, which inning it happened in, and then I can simply move on real quick. Turn around to the scorekeeper, 2 running for number 1, and away we go, okay? You don't even have to announce that to the other team, okay? Because most of the time, they've already got it. They saw what happened on the field. They saw that the big guy ran down to first, and now he's coaching, and the coach is now running. Like, every once in a while, you'll get a, hey, Blue, was that a courtesy runner or a substitution? You can clarify that if necessary, but again, that process should be very quick, okay? And I say this because it's not only a pet peeve of mine. I've talked to other umpires where it's kind of a pet peeve when they get, their partner's really slow going on it. And I've heard ball players make comments about this a lot, okay? When I've been on the field and my partner's taking a long time, or when I've been spectating, when I've been around the outsides of the fields, it's a lot of comments from ball players like, man, oh man, what's taking so long? Like, why has this taken so long? So just move through this lineup card management, get through it fast, okay? Now, I don't see, can you guys see kind of on my screen what I got written down here?
No.
No? Well, let me see. Let me get back to, I might have to stop share.
To the full screen.
There we go. Okay. I know you guys can see it now.
Yep.
All I do on here is the innings at the top, 1 through 7 real quick. The 2 teams, usually visiting and then home. Otherwise you get messed up. And my writing's messy, but you kind of get the gist, okay? In the first inning, the visiting team used scorekeeper, like 2 for 22. 2 ran for 22. So jot it down in the box real quick, and back in the pocket it goes. It takes probably maybe 10, 20 seconds for me to get this out of my pocket, write that down, and be going, because after I do my pregame and I get my lineup cards, I draw this out. I draw these boxes out. I draw this all out on my cards before the first pitch is thrown. That way I'm ready to go. And then it speeds up the process really, really fast. Okay. And the X's simply mean that there was no courtesy runner in that inning. So it's another way, because I don't like those big clunky inning indicators that we can carry around. So it also gives me an easy way to keep track of the innings as we progress through the game too. Okay. Now, again, if you guys got a better system, different system, like I'm all for hearing about it. Tell us about it, show us. But this is what I found to get me through games and make it a pretty quick transition to keep track of courtesy runners. Okay. On the substitution end of things, and this one's gonna be a little harder to see, but simply, so right here, I had a substitution. 31 is down here in substitutions, right? I had the substitutions were written down. 31's, I think it's 31. It's backwards on my screen though, so might be 13. But anyway, simply cross out that person, write the number that the substitution was in, okay? And then I report it to the other coach, and it's a really quick process. Again, it doesn't take very long to write this in. You don't have to write in the full name of the substitution. You don't have to get crazy with it. Simply the number works because you got them down here in your sub list, okay? If you have a re-entry, you simply cross out this number and put the number back in over here. You don't have to do anything different than cross off the number of the substitute and put the re-entry back in, okay? It also it allows you to keep track. So this one was, 44. So 44 is gone back in for 31. I simply cross off 31, put 44 in there, and now I know he's done because he was in here. Now he's in here. If he goes out of the game again, he's done. Okay, and I can communicate that to the coach. But again, a substitution change on my end, again, is only like 10, 20 seconds usually to get that substitution, and I can pass it along, get it back in my pocket, away we go. Okay, and we're back to playing ball. It's just a couple like quick tricks. And if you guys have a different method, I'm all for that. Just try to make it as speedy as possible. Okay.
So the only thing I do with my substitution is it's a hash through the number that's being subbed out.
Mhm.
When he re-enters, it's a circle. And when he goes out the second time, it's a slash. So now you have an X with the circle, means he's been in and out. No longer available.
Sounds good. Did everybody kind of understand what Jason was talking about? I like that idea. You know, again, it's not necessarily that I'm telling you you have to follow my method. It's find a method that works for you that will allow you to quickly get back to playing ball. Okay, because nobody likes all the interruptions with the courtesy runners and the substitutions and all that good stuff. Okay, so try to get through that process as quickly as possible. And like I said, I bring it up because I've noticed it for years now, especially once they introduce the courtesy runner and having to keep track of the courtesy runner. Certain umpires, it really does slow the game down, and it drives you nuts. It drives you nuts when you're out on the bases. It drives you nuts when you're watching, and it drives the ball players nuts too. Okay, so get through it as quickly as possible.
Joe, if I could,
Yeah.
I believe my Zoom account only allows for an hour meeting. So if we do get cut off at 8, I did send out an email for a part 2 session. So if we do get cut off, just check your email. You'll see a new Zoom invite. And I just sent it out to everybody that's on this meeting only. So,
Okay, is everybody seeing the PowerPoint again?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So really, we're in the last section of what I was going to cover with tonight. And again, I want a discussion with this. So if you guys have anything you want to add or questions, feel free, unmute yourself and speak up. Okay, because again, I think these types of conversations, when it comes to handling players and coaches, there's no really definite right way to do it. There's plenty of definitely wrong ways to do it, but not definitely like right ways that only, like I'm going to tell you, you can only do this. Okay. But there are some tools to be out there. And first one is just be professional, guys. When you get to the fields, when you're on the ball fields, this starts like right off the bat. Act like you would if you didn't know any of the players or coaches. Because I know all of us have done some games where we might know just about everybody on one team or the other, or sometimes on both. I had games in Mason leagues that shoot, Thursday nights, like I probably drink beer with 80% of the ball players on both teams. Okay. But when you're in a tournament situation or you're in games where you've got a team that's unfamiliar with you, that goes out the window. Okay. Again, it's not, you don't want the ball players calling you by your first name. Okay. And you can nip that in the bud like real quick. Okay. Usually like pregame, like if I'm at a tournament and I see guys that, like there's a team where I know most of the guys, I go up to a couple of them that I know the best and be like, hey guys, I'm blue, not Joe, I'm blue. And sometimes I got to do it during the game too, just as a reminder, but it makes sure you definitely don't want to leave the impression with one team or the other that you're favoring them. Okay. Anybody that knew me well in the Thursday night league knew that it didn't matter how well I knew you. I was just as likely to call you out as anybody else. And if I had a problem with you, I'd just be as likely to toss you out of a ball game. Isn't that right, Ryan?
You love talking so much trash.
I do. It's fun. Okay.
I'm
Keep your conversations brief.
Are we
Okay, and
interrupting
this-
your sleep, Ryan?
Again, this comes down
not
to
sleeping. I'm wide awake.
keeping conversations brief. Means even if you don't know ball players, don't strike up small talk conversations with them. Don't give the impression that you know this person. Okay. Because I've seen umpires that have done this, even with ball players that they don't know, they've never met, but they're over there, John, and they're chit-chatting, and it's nothing but small talk, and it doesn't really mean anything. But what that does is it gives the impression to the other team that can't hear what's going on, that you might know these guys and that you might favor them. And that's what you want to stay away from. Okay. You want to make sure that you're not giving the impression that you are favoring one team over the other, because that can create some big problems for you during the game. Okay. When you have to deal with players like during a game or even like before or after games and stuff, be approachable, listen to them. Okay. Be mindful of your body language. Okay. Make sure you're putting out there that you're willing to listen, no arms crossed or hands on hips or any of that stuff that, be mindful of what your body language is and be empathetic. Sometimes all a ball player or a coach wants to do is vent a little bit. Okay. And then once they vent, sometimes they're perfectly fine. So if you listen to them, give them the opportunity to vent to you about whatever the call was or the ruling or whatever it was. It's like, I understand, coach. Yep, I understand. I see what you're saying. You're not arguing with them, but you're being empathetic with them. You're showing them that you understand where they're coming from. And sometimes that will stop the conversation right there. Because sometimes they know, especially in a one umpire system, they know you have no other partner to go to for help. They know that there's nothing they can do about the call. So a lot of times, all they want you to do is listen to them for a minute, and then on you go and you're back to playing ball again. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean let the conversation drag out for 5-10 minutes on the ball field. Like, you got to get to playing ball at some point in time, but give them the opportunity to at least vent to you, at least tell you what their problem or issue was, be a little empathetic with them, and then move on. Okay. Communication. So again, be mindful of your body language. When you're having a conversation with a player or coach, again, no crossed arms or hands on hips. You want to give the impression that you're there to listen and that you're willing to listen and not try to shut them out right off the bat with your body language. Okay. Keep your tone of voice professional. Don't shout or swear. And I put this in, it seems like, oh gosh, Joe, why would you even say swear? But I've had this issue before with umpires on the field. Okay, I came very close to actually having to toss an umpire out of a game versus any players out of the game in one of my league games that I had. Okay, so you want to be careful with what you say. Okay, and how you present it. Okay, ball players, they're not going to agree with the calls. We have the unlucky job that no matter what call we make, we're only making 50% of everybody happy. The other 50% are not going to be happy with us. Okay. So they're going to have problems. They're going to have issues. They're going to disagree with you. But if you get into a shouting match with them, if you start using verbiage that is inappropriate, that's just going to escalate the system and make it worse. Okay. Use phrases like, by rule, when they're having conversations, they do like by rule. This is what has to happen in this situation. Okay. Or in my judgment. Okay, because when it comes down to it, they can't really argue with a judgment call. So if you use verbiage like in my judgment, the runner beat the throw, there's not really much that they can do. I mean, they'll still tell you how wrong you were and everything like that. But again, that comes back to the listening. Just listen to them vent for a little bit, and then we move on and we play ball. Okay. Be confident with your answer. Okay. Ball players and coaches will eat you alive if you seem kind of wishy-washy with a call. I have seen umpires, and I might be included in that have absolutely sold the definite wrong call, the wrong rule. They were off base by a mile, but they were confident and they sold it well. Okay. So as long as you're confident, a lot of times that can alleviate a lot of problems right off the bat. But if you come out and you're not showing confidence in your call or what the ruling was on the field, they're going to take that and they're going to think they can push and push and push more. Okay. Partners, if you're working with a partner, when this discussion is going on with a player or coach, keep the other players and coaches away from the thing. Try to keep it a one-on-one conversation, okay? And your partner is the guy that can really help with that because they can see the whole field when something's going on, okay? Also, if you're working with a partner and your partner has a problem, okay, make sure that you're starting to work your way in that direction. You don't necessarily need to get involved in the conversation because most conversations don't take that long. But you want to make sure that you're there and available in case things escalate and get bad. Okay. So you want to make sure that you're in a position where you can help out if necessary and help try to diffuse the situation. Okay. You're a team when you guys are out there. So you want to help each other out as much as possible. Okay. Does somebody want to make a comment?
Yeah. So when you're out there and you don't necessarily have to run to the situation, but make sure you get there in a timely fashion. You see a lot of guys run to it and it causes a little bit more like, frustration with the group because now the person who's upset and talking to the umpire feels jammed up. So make your way over to it and give yourself ample space in between everything. That's just my point of view.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that. Certain situations, yeah, like you can just kind of start walking in that direction. You don't need to run. I mean, you will find other situations though where you want to get to that conversation as quick every time. I mean, you got to take every situation separately, then deal with how you think fit. But I agree with you, Ryan. You don't need to rush right over every single time a coach or a player is trying to have a conversation with your partner. But you do want to start moving in that direction in case something happens or the situation escalates and you do need help. Okay. When you're out on the ball field, listen, but don't have rabbit ears. So what I mean by this is if, you got a ball player that under his breath swears or says something, as long as it's not directed at you, like you're an effing idiot or something like that under his breath, like I'm not saying ignore that type of thing, but if he's upset with themselves, a lot of times they're just frustrated with themselves because they just made an error, or even if they didn't agree with a call, they're frustrated by it. And they're not really like, if they're not making an issue and they're really not, it's just kind of under their breath and nobody else on that ball field can hear them except for you. You don't have to make a big issue of everything that is said on the field. And this especially comes with swearing. A lot of times I hear ball players all the time swear. They get thrown out or they make an error, drop a ball or whatever, and they swear. As long as they keep it quiet, so I'm the only guy on the field that can hear, I don't have an issue with it. If they scream at the top of their lungs, then I'm going to stop and I'm going to have a conversation with that ball player and address it at that point. Okay, so that's what I kind of mean by listen, but don't have rabbit ears. If some of that stuff you're going to hear when you're on the ball field, you're going to wind up ignoring. And that's going to help in your game management to really, if you make a big issue about every single situation that happens on the field or everything that's said on the field, you're going to wind up actually having more problems in the long run than you will help. Okay. If you get in a situation where you need to ask your partner for help, okay, and again, this is not in the one umpire system, you got nobody to help with, but I mean, I've also turned this kind of thing into a joke too. If I have in the one umpire system, which I work quite a bit, we had a ball player or something that's really complaining about coach, if I feel that it will diffuse the situation, and again, it comes to reading and just the experience that I have, sometimes they're like, well, I could ask New York, but the phones are down tonight or something like that. Sometimes a simple comment like that, kind of turning a little bit joke, sometimes that'll diffuse the situation. But again, you have to read that situation, because that, if you're not confident that that's going to work, don't use it, because you could wind up offending somebody and making more of an issue. But sometimes, you know, you've just with experience, and a lot of the stuff comes down to experience, and you'll get better and better and better at it as you deal with it over the years. But sometimes, you know, you'll find all sorts of different ways to diffuse situations. But if you've got a partner on the field, somebody wants help with something, there's the, okay, do I ask my partners for help or not? Okay. If it has to do with a rule, something along those lines, a lot of times I'm going to bring my partners in so we make sure that we get the correct ruling on the field. Okay. I'm not perfect. Nobody is. There are times when I get a rule incorrect, and I want to touch base with my partners and make sure that we're getting it correct. Okay. Ball players, for the most part, appreciate that. Okay. If you go for help and you get together as a group, either 2 or 3 umpire system, all 3 of you, you talk about it, and then you come back out of it and you're like, okay, I made the correct ruling, then so be it. Usually, as long as you're going for help, the ball players are kind of happy. Okay. On judgment calls, we don't have to go for help. In my judgment, the throw beat the runner. And if it is simply as cut and dry as that, I don't go for help. I'm not going to go for help on every single situation that everybody asks me about. Okay. However, if you're in kind of a hot moment, or it's a very important part of the game, or if there was maybe a question of whether you got blocked by a fielder or another runner or something like that, even if I'm sure that I had the call right, I might still go to my partner and ask them. And it might be a simple conversation like, hey, Ryan, like, I was right on top of that. You know, did you see anything different? Because I thought I had a really good view on that. Ryan's probably gonna be like, dude, I'm not changing your call. You were right on top of it, and that's it. And we turn around and I keep the call. And again, sometimes, not every time am I going to go do that, but sometimes if you mix that in, even if you know you're not changing it, it will make the ball players think, okay, at least he's willing to go ask for help. And so be it, the other guy didn't see anything different, and in a way you'll go. Okay. And sometimes that'll help diffuse the situation. Again, if nothing's blocking me and it is strictly just my judgment and there's nothing else going on with it, I'm not going for help. Then I'll simply tell that player right there, in my judgment, that throw beat the runner, or the runner beat the throw, or whatever the situation dictates. But like I said, if there's any question that you might have been blocked, or if it's a really sticky situation, sometimes going to your partner and asking for help, even if you don't need it, will help diffuse the situation. Okay. If you do get blocked, or you know, in a certain situation, or you're not sure if the you know, the first baseman pulled his foot or something like that, those situations, absolutely feel free to go to your partner and ask them. Okay. And a lot of the coaches, if the coach says that or asks that, like, hey, Blue, did he pull his foot or something along those lines, a lot of times, even if I was right on top of it and I had a pretty good look at it, I'll go ask my partner on that. If the coach is like, Blue, I think you blew that, the throw beat the runner, like, I can't believe you didn't see it like that. And like, in my judgment, that's the way it is, and I might not go for help on that. But if they're asking you if there was a swipe tag, a pulled foot, anything like that, a lot of times I'll go to my partner. Even if I saw it and pretty confident about it, I'll go to my partner. If there is any doubt, then go to your partner and ask. Because again, bottom line, we want to get the call right. And there have been times on the field where, because of my angle or because something happened, like a ball player may have pulled his foot and I didn't see it. I thought he stayed right on it. I'll go to my partner and ask, because I want to get that right. Because it could be 90% of the people on that ball field and 90% of the spectators all saw that guy pull his foot, but I missed it. So if I can get that corrected, all the ball players at that point, then they're going to be good with that. Like, okay, good. He went and he asked for help and we got the call changed. Okay. You're just going to take a lot of these situations individually and figure out the best way to address them. Okay, ejections. Sometimes they're necessary, okay, but you don't want to be an ejection happy umpire. It just tosses guys all over the place. However, like, sometimes it needs to happen. And I usually don't say, like, umpires, for the most part, don't eject players. Ball players or coaches eject themselves, usually is how it happens, okay? If they make it personal to you, like, you're an effing idiot or something along those lines, they're probably going, okay? if they're just venting and they're upset about a call and they think you blew a missed call, I'll let them vent and I'll give them some time. And as long as they calm down and move on, I'll usually let it go and I won't be tossing guys for that. Okay. Again, ejections are very, very tricky. In certain situations, they have to happen. And I've seen it go both ways. I've seen umpires that have made ejections probably a little too soon. And I've seen umpires, and I've been guilty of both. I've seen umpires also kind of let situations get kind of a little bit out of control and not pitch somebody that probably should have gone. Okay. If you have questions about that, the best way to handle it is like, if you handle it wrong in the situation, or you get any sort of sticky situation with this, the best thing is, if you are working with a partner, is after the game, have a conversation with them. Like, hey, do you think I handled this correctly? Is there something you think I should have done differently? Sometimes they'll agree with you, but they'll just have a little bit different take on it. Sometimes they'll give you an honest bit, be like, maybe, no, I don't think you should have tossed that guy, or yes, I think you should have tossed that guy. Okay, I've had conversations after games in both of those types of situations. Okay, but most of the time, if ejection is warranted, you're not going to get too much grief except from that player you're ejecting. Most of the time when I eject a player, the other people on the team, they understand, like, the guy got out of control, and they help you and they deal with it. Okay, not always, but most of the time, unless you're really ejection happen, you're just pitching people left and right. Most of the time, those ball players or that coach they're getting themselves tossed, and everybody on the field knows it's coming. Okay. Keep it brief. Like, don't get into long, drawn out 5-10 minute conversations. Did somebody have something that they wanted to add?
Yeah, Ryan had a comment.
Go ahead, Ryan.
I jump in here real quick. I have been part of a situation where the umpire had to separate himself from the conflict that was happening and came over to me and goes, I know there's an ejection there, but I got caught in no man's land. Like, how to get yourself out of a bad situation without blowing your top and start tossing people. Boom, 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 boom. So he separated himself. He said, hold on, guys, let me get with my partner, which was me. And came with me. He goes, I just got stuck in no man's land. He called it no man's land. So where you can get caught up. So separate yourself from the situation. Talk to your partner. Maybe your partner sees an ejection there, or to help you not make an ejection, just to calm you down or anything. Use him or her in both scenarios, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's a good point, Ryan. And I've got that kind of something along those lines on that list. It's, keep it brief, let the coach know what's going on, why the ejection's happening, get with your partner. Sometimes, if it progresses to a situation like this, your partner should be fairly close to the situation at that point. And sometimes they have like Ryan was saying, they have a cooler head. They've got, they're looking at it from a different perspective. Sometimes it allows, like, if you bring your partner into it, then you're not the only bad guy out there. Sometimes that helps the situation. Okay. And sometimes, like Ryan was saying, maybe your partners just can, if you have brief conversation, give yourself a chance to cool down a little bit, because it's hard to not make it personal. Allow yourself to get cool, to get a little bit cool down period. Let your partner have a conversation with you, talk it over. And then sometimes, if you still got to eject the player, then turn around and make that ejection. Or sometimes, if your partner can get you cooled down a little bit, usually that also gives the ball player or the coach a chance to cool down a little bit. And sometimes maybe you can just go back to playing at that point. Okay. But use your partner in those situations. Absolutely. Okay. And then make sure, go ahead.
Partner should be coming in and cleaning up the mess.
Yeah. So they should be close anyway, and they should be aware of what's going on, especially if things that progress to the point where an ejection is probably going to happen. Okay. And then make sure that player or coach leaves the field. Okay. Most of the time when I've had to eject a player, their teammates are helping out. They know that guy went over the line. Sometimes I've been thanked after the game by players, like, thank you for tossing him. We've always had a problem with him. He's got a really hot head or whatever. Sometimes they're glad to get him gone. So a lot of times the teammates will help get that player out of there. if that's not happening, sometimes you got to have a conversation with the coach. Like, look, that player has got to leave. Okay. And if he doesn't, I'm going to have to start ejecting other players. Okay. Usually when that happens, you know, that coach is well on board with that, and they're moving that player out of there and getting him away from the field. Okay. If you're in a tournament scenario, sometimes you can get the tournament staff will a lot of times get involved. Usually if something escalates to the point where somebody's getting ejected, the staff members are usually aware of something's going on. Either your UIC or tournament director or somebody else there is aware of something's going on. They'll walk over to the field, and they can also be enlisted to help get the ball player or the coach away from the field and be able to get back to playing. And then the last point I have with this is don't hold a grudge. It's difficult. Okay. You get through it, like emotions are high during an ejection. A lot of times you're upset. The ball players are upset, but you have to try really hard to get yourself cooled down and don't hold a grudge. Don't let it go all game long and still continue to have this like digging into you and have it affect how you umpire the rest of the game. Okay. And I know that's much easier said than done sometimes, but it's something you really got to work hard to do. And sometimes maybe in between innings, having a conversation with your partner might help cool you down, but try to let it go. Try to get over it, move on, and play out the rest of the game like it never happened. Okay. Because you don't want it to color how you handle situations throughout the rest of the game. Okay. Does anybody else have anything they want to add to it? No? Okay. Well, that, unless there's something else that you guys want to cover or you guys want to ask questions about, that pretty much wraps up what I had to talk about. If you guys have any questions on registration, Save Sport, any of that stuff, feel free to give me a call, contact me, email me, text me, whatever you got to do. And I'll help you get through the whole process. And then I look forward to seeing you guys at the rest of our sessions and at the rest of the state clinic sessions also. Okay.
I will say too, if there's anything that you guys want us to talk about in future sessions or at the district clinic that maybe the state isn't covering or we don't have a schedule to cover, you know, drop us a line, send an email to Joe or any member of the state staff or the district staff. I mean,
oh yeah, I'll text you guys all day long.
Just because, you know, we obviously don't want to duplicate what the state clinics are doing, which is kind of one of the reasons why we dropped a few of our sessions, but we want to make sure that we're giving you what you need. Maybe not rehashing some of the old stuff. So if you have anything, just, you know, feel free to let us know.
Yep, absolutely. So, and this carries in the spring and then into the summer. If you guys got problems on the field or you guys got questions on something, get a hold of me. If you can't get a hold of me, get a hold of one of the other district staff members. So we have a lot of experience on staff. Okay. I think Matt is the newbie of the group and he's still been doing it for quite a while. And after that, I'm the next newbie in the group, and I've been doing it for almost 30 years now. So there's a lot of experience. So hit us up. We want to see everybody stay on the field and get out there and umpire and enjoy themselves when they're out there. And a lot of times I know that enjoyment comes from just being able to deal with these weird oddball situations that happen. And we want to give you guys all the tools you can. So absolutely contact us. Let us know when something happens, or if there's something you want to see, or your question about how you handled something on the field, let us know and we'll sit down and talk to you about it.
Hey, Joe, quick question.
Yeah.
So, cause again, sorry I came to the meeting late. I just got out of my job, but I saw that in one of the rules, it was going to be like an hour and 40 minutes. Is that like tournament games or what was that for?
Yeah, that's on the
That's
jail
fast
side of
pitch.
things. Yep,
Oh,
that's
okay.
fast pitch tournament play where they have time limits involved with usually what in pool play and stuff when they're doing that, Jason.
Yes.
So that's what that's for. So when it comes to slow pitch in tournaments, at least we're not dealing with any time limits or anything like that. And then if you do have time limits when you're doing league ball, it all depends on whatever your league has for a time limit. So.
And then we're calling them base player from now on.
Yep, it's base player instead of baseman. That's it. So. Daniel, a little bit more politically correct. Well, on baseman's not if you're doing women's or co-eds or whatever, you know, I get it. So they're just trying to clean up the language a little bit to make it more user-friendly and politically correct. Anything else?
Past my bedtime.
All right,
Right.
everybody. I appreciate you tuning in. We will see you at the next session.
All right.